we got a package. So the last time that I unboxed a big iPhone lot from eBay was way back in July of 2022, where I bought 7 iPhone 5Cs. Now, the biggest eBay lot I have ever purchased was a lot of 10 iPhone 5s that I purchased back in early 2022. So inside of this box, I have a total of 11 iPhones, 1 iPod, and 1 pair of first generation AirPods. These phones were listed as untested, but for the price, I couldn't really pass it up. From the listing photos, I can see an iPhone 7 Plus, 2 iPhone 11s, 2 iPhone 6s, an iPhone SE second or third generation, a pair of AirPods, what looks to be an old iPod, I'm not sure what type, an iPhone 4 CDMA, a 4 or 4S, 3Gs or 3GSs, and an iPhone 5C. My eye was mainly on these 2 iPhone 11s. I paid a total of $90, and I'm pretty confident that I can make $90 back from this, and hopefully more. Anyways, without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started with this unboxing. Go ahead and lift the box open to reveal some brown paper on top, and then a Ziploc bag with all the phones thrown inside. Not too bad, but I have definitely seen better packing jobs. Looks like it is actually organized into layers, so that is not that bad. I'll go ahead and pull stuff out layer by layer. And we're starting off first with this iPod. I want to say Nano. I'm not 100% sure. Someone please correct me. It looks like it has a cracked LCD, unfortunately, but this will be a nice little repair project in the future. Next, we have an iPhone SE second generation. There's a sticker over the Apple logo, but I can tell that because there's no iPhone text showing it being an iPhone 8. The screen is quite heavily scratched, but is not cracked. The back is shattered and has an anime sticker on top. And next, we have a pair of first generation AirPods that are likely going to get thrown away. These are absolutely disgusting. Next out of the box, we have an iPhone 3G or 3GS. This one I believe is a 3GS because of the shiny Apple logo and text. I believe this is an 8GB model, as it doesn't have the storage on the back. Looks to have a quite scratched screen, but at the same time there are no cracks, and it looks like the LCD is intact. Next up, we have another iPhone 3GS. Looks like it's another probably 8GB model. Again, heavily scratched screen, but the LCD looks totally fine. Next, we have what looks to be an iPhone 4. This could be a 2010 or 2012 revision model. This one has no cracks. Actually, I spoke too quick. There's one little crack on the back. The screen looks pretty good. The back has a tiny crack and some scratches, but overall, not too bad. Hopefully, oh, never mind. Looks like it's turning on. I'll put that face down for now. You can really see the crack from up here. Next up, we have a CDMA iPhone 4. I could tell this in the listing because it doesn't have FCC badges down at the bottom. This one is in a similar shape with no crack on the back, but quite heavy scratches, and actually quite heavy scratches on the screen as well, but definitely not too bad. Next up, we have a Coral iPhone 5C with a cracked display. The housing is a bit faded. Overall, not too horrible. Looks like the screen is cracked, and I'm not sure about the LCD. From the looks of it, the LCD is fine. We'll test this later. Next, we have an iPhone 6, regular model, space gray. It has a shattered display, and of course, we'll test all these in just a couple minutes. This one is looking pretty rough. The housing isn't too bad, but the screen is definitely demolished, and there's a nice little bend. Next out of the box is the iPhone 7 Plus. The 7 Plus actually has a pretty nice looking screen, which I was not expecting. I forgot what the screen of half of these things look like in the listing. I was kind of just looking at the back. The back of the 7 Plus looks quite nice. It looks like there's a very slight bend, but I'm really hoping that this phone does function. Next, we have yet another iPhone 6. The display is shattered on this one as well. The housing is also not in too bad shape. It's got some marks on the corners though. It's got something nasty on the back that looks almost like orange paint. I can't tell if the LCD is good, but of course, like I said quite a few times, we'll get on to testing in just a minute. I'll actually put this up here next to this one. And next we have the two big things. First, we have a black iPhone 11 with a completely shattered back, even missing quite a bit of glass. The screen, however, has some scratches, quite deep, but no cracks whatsoever. And the phone is slightly bent. And finally, the last thing from this massive phone lot is another iPhone 11, this time a white one with a nice looking back and frame, but a completely demolished display. I've never owned an iPhone 11 before, so this is going to be my first time messing around with some. Now that the box is empty, let's go ahead and try to turn some of these things on. This iPod's got a damaged display, but we'll just go ahead and see if it does show any sign of power. I'm not seeing anything. I'll test this later. The AirPods, of course, I am not touching yet. The iPhone SE second gen has no power as of now. This thing will need to go on the charger. The first iPhone 3GS Looks like it also has no power. Another iPhone 3GS. Yet again, same situation with no power. The iPhone 4 seems to still be on the Apple logo. Not sure what's going on with this one. The iPhone 4 CDMA has no power whatsoever. The iPhone 5C is not showing any signs of life whatsoever either. And I didn't expect lots of these to be charged, as it was just an untested parts lot. The iPhone 6 with the demolished display, nothing. Looks like that iPhone 4 has rebooted into recovery mode. That's unfortunate. The other iPhone 6, yet again, no power. The iPhone 7 Plus that is, yes, very unfortunately a bit bent. The housing looks to be really nice though. Looks like this one, we've got an Apple logo. Let's see if it boots all the way up. Looks like we're met with the iOS 15 setup screen. I'm not going to do any more testing right now. We'll get onto that in just a minute, but nice to see one finally actually load up. Looks like we do have a functioning baseband. That's definitely good. Next, we have the black iPhone 11. We'll just go ahead and see if it shows any signs of life. Looks like, unfortunately, we've got nothing. And the iPhone 11 with the completely demolished display. I don't expect much out of this one, and I'm not seeing anything. Safe to say this screen is definitely cooked. Now that I've confirmed what devices are charged, which is very literally one iPhone 7 Plus, I'm gonna go ahead and find a place to plug in as much of this stuff as I can, and then we'll go ahead and test out the 7 Plus. All right, so in the time that it took to go ahead and plug some phones in, the iPhone SE 2nd Gen did power up, and it's running iOS 16 or 17. It's currently unavailable. I'm just gonna wait out the time. Of course, like I said earlier, the back is cracked and it's got a sticker on the back, but not too bad. I'll wait for this to go down. If it's a 4-digit code, I could try once, but then I'm better off checking the IMEI and restoring it. And if it's Find My iPhone on, this screen is just gonna go on another one. Now it's time for the iPhone 7 Plus. Go to English, United States, and I'll go ahead and connect to my Wi-Fi in just a moment. Okay, not sure what happened there. We'll set up manually, and I'll connect to Wi-Fi real quick. And it looks like, unfortunately, there is an activation lock. I know that there has got to be a way to bypass this, so I'll look into that later, but unfortunately the 7 Plus is locked. Now I've just gotta wait for some more phones to charge up, and I'll get right back to you guys. So just about 2 minutes later, we've actually got both of the 11s charged up. This black iPhone 11 is disabled on what looks to be iOS 16. I've got to wait about 8 hours, and then I can see what's going on with it. But it is nice to see that this screen does seem to work pretty well. Unfortunately, I just noticed there is a black line, but that's not too bad. I could definitely still use the screen. The white iPhone 11 screen is completely dead, but when I flip the mute switch, actually, I'm dumb, you can't hear taptics. I don't have a charger at my desk, but when I connect the phone to power, I do hear the charging sound. All right, it has been about 20 minutes now, and I have got 3 more things to show you. First off, we have an iPhone 3GS running iOS 5 or 6. Wow, the digitizer was not working earlier, but it is now. This is great. I'll go ahead and set the phone up since the digitizer has decided to work. Let me connect to Wi-Fi, and we'll give the phone just a moment to activate. There's no such thing as activation lock on versions older than iOS 7, so this will always activate. Activation error is normal with iOS 6. It should work after a couple of tries. It looks like this is probably iOS 5, as it's asking me for a SIM, and iOS 6 never does that, but I guess we'll find out later. First, I've got to find a SIM card for it. Next, we have an iPhone 5C. I'm not going to show the lock screen as it does have people's faces, but I'll go ahead and slide to unlock. This iPhone 5C is a 16 gigabyte model running iOS 8.4. It's got a previous owner's stuff on here, and I actually haven't checked iCloud yet. And it looks like, unfortunately, Find My iPhone is turned on, but this will just go to make 3 iPhones that I have running older iOS versions with a bunch of previous owners' stuff on here. I'm not a snoopy person. I'm not going to go through all this stuff, but it's got quite a few apps, and I'd like to preserve these. Next up, we've got an iPhone 6 that was just disabled for 5 minutes, but it has a 6-digit passcode. I'll try all zeros, and looks like now we're locked out for 15 minutes. This one's got a shattered screen with a working LCD. It's pretty nasty on the back and is missing a SIM tray. The frame of the phone is in mediocre condition at best, and there's a good chance that this is Find My iPhone turned on, but we'll find that out later. Next up, we have an iPhone 3GS. On the iPhone is disabled screen. It looks like the phone just died once again. It very clearly has trouble staying charged and actually charging in general. I'm not sure the iOS version on this, but it is on the iPhone is disabled screen, as you can see. I'll see if this is running an older version, and if it is, I'll see if I can preserve it. Just freshly charged, we have an iPhone 4 CDMA running iOS 7, most likely iOS 7.1. Yes, iOS 7.1, probably 7.1.2. iPhone is disabled, and it's for 27 million minutes. We'll take a look into this one later. Now I have two things that I'm going to add into the pile, although I could not get them to turn on, unfortunately. This iPhone 6 shows that it draws power, but unfortunately does not boot up. The ringer switch does nothing, and nothing lights up on the screen, but it is drawing power. Next up, the iPhone 4 from earlier that is stuck in recovery mode. We'll see if I can get it to do it real quick. Okay, so this phone's now just been sitting in the Apple logo for about 3 minutes now. But anyway, it did boot into recovery mode earlier. I'll add one more thing, and that is the iPod Nano. It's got a shattered display. Go ahead and take it off the charger. Put it next to the iPhone 4. Final thing, the AirPods, these are just gonna go in the garbage because they are too nasty, but I'll keep them for now for the rest of this video at least. All right, so now the iPhone 11 with the completely dead screen and the iPhone 6 that seems to draw power but does not boot. I'm gonna plug the two into my MacBook and see what state they are detected in. And for this iPhone 6, if it is detected at all. My MacBook actually detected a powered on iPhone 6, even though the ringer switch seems to do nothing. It's a 64 gigabyte. It tried to activate, and unfortunately there's an activation lock. And now the iPhone 11, we'll go ahead and plug it in. I heard a charge sound, and unfortunately I just felt taptics, meaning that the device is most likely locked with a passcode. Okay, so I have now gone ahead and gotten them sorted into piles so that I can actually start using them for things. So the first pile is one that's just seemingly completely fucked. It booted to recovery mode one time and then has just been sitting on the Apple logo. Next is the pile of devices that have a passcode lock on them. It's an iPhone 4 CDMA, an iPhone SE 2nd Gen, an iPhone 6, and two iPhone 11s. With one open menu FMI on device, I have to cover up these faces. We have two activation lock devices on the setup screen, and then we have only two, unfortunately, that are seemingly fully functional. One of them needs a SIM card though. The other one just needs to be reset as there is no such thing as activation locks. Then we have the nasty AirPods that are probably gonna get burned, and the iPod that's gonna sit around to be repaired in a future video. But now, I'm gonna first go ahead and start with the passcode lock devices. I'm gonna grab the IMEI number on each of them and see if any of them are Find My iPhone off. I'll make a chart about it and then I'll get right back to you guys. So I've gotten the 7 phones organized into 3 different sections depending on the FMI status. For the FMI on pile, we have the iPhone 6 that was disabled and has a passcode. And we also have the iPhone SE 2 with the correct back. I went ahead and took off the ugly sticker from it. Next up, we have the black iPhone 11 with the shattered back glass, and also the white iPhone 11 with the demolished display and slightly bent frame. Out of this entire lot so far, the 2 phones that I bought the lot for ended up being the only ones with Find My iPhone off and blacklist clean. Having the 2 of these phones FMI off means that I'm gonna be able to make back at a minimum the amount that I paid for this lot, and most likely more. And there's one last pile for phones I couldn't test, the iPhone 4 CDMA that has the passcode on it. I could not test this because I could only get the serial number by putting it into recovery mode, and when I ran the serial number through a Find My iPhone checker, it just didn't even bring up Find My iPhone in the report. So I'll likely just end up restoring this in iTunes as it's already running 7.1. That's what I'm gonna do first. Go ahead and get this phone restored, and then I'll get back to you. It's been a little bit. I restored the iPhone 4 CDMA, and it's now time to see if it is FMI off or FMI on. I'm now currently restoring the other iPhone 4 that would hang on the Apple logo. Let me connect to Wi-Fi. We'll give the phone just a second to activate. And it looks like there is no iCloud lock. That's definitely nice. Looks like I got another iPhone 4 to add to the collection. We'll enable location services and set up as a new iPhone. I'll skip the Apple ID, agree to the terms, skip the passcode, automatically send, and let's get started. We'll go ahead and check and see what the storage on this iPhone is. Looks like we got ourselves an 8 gig iPhone 4 CDMA running iOS 7. Not too bad. Okay, so unfortunately, the other iPhone 4 got hung up while trying to restore, so this one is unfortunately dead, but I'm gonna hold on to it for now. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit more restoring. The black iPhone 11 is gonna go ahead and get restored in Finder on my Mac, most likely to iOS 17 if there's still a signed version. And once I'm done restoring, I'll get back to you guys, and then it's time to restore the white one. But since this one actually has a working screen, I'll start with it. So I was just about to go ahead and restore this iPhone 11, but then I realized that the mute switch and volume buttons are completely non-functional, most likely due to a damaged cable. Look at the corners on the back of here. Plus, the bottom is quite screwed. But because of these messed up buttons, I cannot put it in recovery or DFU mode, meaning I'm just gonna go ahead and put the screen from here onto the white iPhone 11, start it up, see what it's like, and then go ahead and restore it. All right, so I'm now gonna go ahead and get started with getting the screen off this iPhone 11 and putting it onto the white one that I have off camera. I've gone ahead and heated up the iPhone 11 screen. Go ahead and add a suction cup onto the display. And I'll get my metal pry tool down in there and see if I can't get this adhesive loose. Oh yeah, this is quite easy on the older iPhones. This is taking very minimal effort. I don't care about scratching up this frame, as I don't think that it's very important that we keep this in good shape. Go ahead and work on prying the other side, keeping the display on so that I can see if I'm putting lots of pressure on the LCD itself. Now I've finally gone ahead and gotten the display up. I kept it in nice shape, as this does appear to be an OEM display, and that one little line does not really affect it very much. OEM displays are my preference, and I can still sell it with a teeny tiny line. Well, I just said I was gonna power the phone down, but I actually cannot because the volume buttons do not work. But now I'll go ahead and switch you over to time lapse while I get this screen completely off and put it onto the white iPhone 11. Okay, so I have now gotten the screen switched over to the white iPhone 11. I did not transfer any of the Face ID stuff. I can do that later. I was just waiting for the phone to turn on, and it looks like the white one is passcode locked and running iOS 17. I'm gonna go ahead and transfer over the Face ID stuff and then seal this phone back up and leave the black iPhone 11 for a future restoration. Then we can go ahead and get this phone restored. I actually just made a quick decision. I'm gonna change my plan for these iPhone 11s. I'm actually going to be swapping the black one's logic board into the frame of the white iPhone 11. And I'm gonna be doing this because if I were to just put the black one screen onto here, if that black one has its original display, then once I have both phones fixed, they're both going to show non-genuine display messages. But if I were to just transfer the black one into here and keep its display original, it will not have a non-genuine display message. This should be pretty quick. Let's just get started. All right, so after about 2 hours, I finally managed to complete this. I took the motherboard and the screen from the black iPhone XR and put them into the white housing, as the black one has definitely seen better days. I ended up restoring it to iOS 17.6 beta 3, and I'm gonna update it to 17.7.2 later today, as that is still signed as an OTA option. It wants me to go to 18, but 18 doesn't exactly run well on this thing, so I'm not gonna be doing that. This thing will likely be getting sold on my eBay, link in the description by the way, but stay tuned to the rest of the video to find out what I'm actually gonna do with it. As for this black iPhone 11, this is gonna sit around for a little while and will most likely be a future iPhone 11 restoration video. And by future, I mean like 3 weeks. Anyways, it's now 10:30 p.m. I started working on this way earlier in the afternoon, and I am quite tired because this took way too long. I think the glass and battery shit on my desk definitely says how it went. Anyways, I think I've done enough for today. I've got a fully functioning iPhone 11 with an 80% battery health, functioning Face ID, and unfortunately, carrier lock to Cricket, and another phone ready for a future repair project. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
The next day.
All right, it is now the next day. It was getting late last night, so I decided to wrap it up. But now it's time to actually start using some of these phones for parts. And by some of these, I mean very specifically this iPhone SE2, this passcode locked for the screen. It's got some scratches on it, but this red iPhone SE2 I have is also quite scratched, and the screen just does not function. It's running iOS 16 and FMI off. And since this screen is not cracked and does actually work just fine, I'm just gonna go ahead and put it on here. Let's just get started. Alright, so I now have the red iPhone SE fully reassembled with a non-cracked and actually functioning screen. The black one now has a cracked back, a completely dead screen, and pretty much has no good parts left in it. I'm going to put this phone on the charger and let it charge up, and then I'll go ahead and test it and make sure everything works. And after that, the next thing I'm going to point my attention to are the two iPhone 3GSs that I've received, as one of them needs a SIM card to activate and the other one needs to be restored. I do want to say one thing. This is the last time you're going to see the black iPhone SE, either of the iPhone 6s or this iPhone 4 that doesn't turn on. All these devices are FMI on and not really good for any parts, so they're all just going to be beat up for fun. So first up with the iPhone 3GSs, the first thing that I want to do is just go ahead and try to hacktivate the one that is stuck on the setup screen that requires a SIM card, as I don't have a SIM card, and the one that has a dead battery right now, but is stuck on a disabled screen. I'm just going to be restoring in iTunes. I'm going to do both of these off camera as it's pretty quick and simple and kind of boring, but then I'll get back to you guys. All right, so I've now finally finished everything that I'm going to be doing to the phones in this video, and it's time to finally go over and show the final result of this $90 untested iPhone lot. So like I said originally, the main reason I bought it was for the two iPhone 11s. From the lot, without even having to buy parts, we ended up with one fully functioning iPhone 11 with a good OEM screen with a small line in it, a good conditioned frame. It's a 64GB model, carrier locked to Cricket, and I believe has a battery health of unfortunately 80%. But for the price I paid for this lot, this iPhone alone allows me to get more than what I paid for the phones to begin with. This iPhone 11 will be being sold on my eBay, most likely around $150. Now, for the iPhone 3GSs that I was just previously working on, the one that was stuck on the setup screen and requiring a SIM card to activate was running iOS 6.1.6 already. So I plugged it up and actually ended up restoring it to iOS 4.1, as that, for whatever reason, is still signed for the iPhone 3GS. Of course, it's also jailbroken, as the software I used to downgrade it has an option to jailbreak during the downgrade. As for the other iPhone 3GS, the battery in it was so bad that I wasn't even able to get it in recovery mode to restore it, so I didn't even bother using it for anything. But off camera, I will likely end up taking the screen and putting it on another one. Next up, we have an iPhone 4 CDMA fully functioning, running iOS 7 with a dead battery right now. This one is in relatively good condition and has no iCloud locks. Next up, we got an iPhone 5C with a cracked display, running iOS 8.4. It is Find My iPhone on, but there's no passcode, and it's got tons of old apps and stuff, so this is definitely a somewhat cool find. Next up, we have the other iPhone 11. This screen was originally on the white one, and the logic board that's inside of here was originally in the white one as well. This phone is Find My iPhone off. It's also a 64GB. I'm not sure of the carrier. This is going to be repaired pretty soon for an upcoming iPhone 11 restoration video. As we're getting to the end, we also have an iPhone 7 Plus that is unfortunately activation locked. This will also get sold on my eBay for parts, probably around $40 or so. It's in nice condition with what seems to be an OEM display. So if you need any iPhone 7 Plus parts, this will be up on my eBay. Again, link down in the description. Of course, from this lot, we still also have the iPod Nano that I've not done anything with yet. This may be in a future video. We also have the AirPods, which I have not touched and will likely just throw away. One last thing that I do want to show is the iPhone SE 2nd Gen that now has a functioning screen, thanks to the one that came in this lot. The black iPhone SE has since been destroyed as there were no really good parts left in it. And with the screen on my red iPhone SE2, it's actually usable again. It's running iOS 16.2, I believe is carrier unlocked, and unfortunately has a battery health somewhere in the 70s. I can't remember the exact number. Anyways, I feel like I've been yapping for way longer than I need to be. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. And if you're new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button. As of right now, only 6.2% of my viewers are actually subscribed. So if you're new, please consider hitting that subscribe button, as you can help me in reaching my goal of 7,000 subscribers. And last but not least, it's time for member shoutouts. Huge shout out to these two members. Both of their channels will be linked down in the description. But like I said, once again, huge shout out to these two people for becoming members of my channel. If you want to become a channel member, there is a link down in the description that'll help you do that if you would like to. It's $1.99 a month and just helps me make these videos. Anyways, I think I've said enough. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed. Comment, like, and subscribe. And as always, peace out, guys.